Once in a while.
That's not fair. Okay, we ready?
Yes.
Great. Welcome, everybody. Today is Wednesday, November 1st, 2023. We are here for the Orange Township Board of Trustees meeting. Mrs. Kraft, can you please call the roll?
Mrs. Faust.
Here.
Ms. Knapp.
Here.
Mr. Ringel.
Here.
Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, do we have any public comment today? Please come forward and please state your name and address for the record.
Bob Roman, 1830 White's Court, down the street. Okay, so fire levy. I did do a public records request for this information on October 20th, but have not received any information. So I was hoping maybe I could get some answers here.
I can, if I can just chime in. We had our legal counsel review your records request, and it actually should be coming to you by the end of today.
Okay, well, I'm here now.
Oh, you got it today? Okay.
Okay, I'm here now. All right, so fall newsletter talks about how much it's going to cost to buy equipment and the increase in other costs. What it doesn't say, coincidentally, is that you're sitting on a minimum $6 million surplus, which is eight months of operating expenses. Being that the last 2 years, you're projected to bring in $9 million and spend $9 million. Okay, so why do you need $3.3 million additional funds? You have $8 million minimum surplus in the general fund. If you wanted to buy this equipment, you could buy it today. And I'd also like to say, if you didn't know of the Olentangy school levy when you put this on the ballot, I would urge you to dial back the request, the millage that you collect, if it passes, because frankly, it's a bit tone deaf, right? You haven't demonstrated the need to add $3.3 million a year in operating costs. You haven't, you could buy the equipment now if you wanted it. I don't even know how the equipment is, the current equipment. But the school levy, I think, is far more important than this levy.
Which school levy? I'm sorry. When is it?
Olentangy, like $500 million in bonds to build all the new schools, plus
It will be on in
March.
So when we made our decision back earlier this year, they had not finalized when they were putting it.
Okay, so you didn't know.
Right, that wasn't.
But you still have the opportunity to collect less, unless you can tell me at least how you're going to spend another $3.3 million a year. That's what my ballot said when I voted.
And when we did look at that, because we wanted to put the smallest levy that we could, and the thing is, it was a 5-year projection, and by the end of that time, we were going to run out. We have to have a certain amount of money. Lisa, do you want to explain it?
Sure. I mean, there is the carryover. We only get money twice a year, right? So we do have to be able to carry that revenue forward. So,
But you could borrow from the general fund if you wanted to.
the general fund is going to have to pay for a $12 to $14 million bill canyon. So, general fund dollars will only get us so far. And like I said, what's the latest estimate for Bill Canyon?
It'll exceed 10 million.
So, our roads levy brings in about $700,000 a year.
Sure.
So
There's no federal or state money for that?
we're working. We are looking under every rock. Trust me. And Mr. Bowers has done a great job finding some of that. Like we get some money from a transportation improvement fund from the county. We're getting some OPWC money, but we're still going to have to pony money up for that. That's for sure.
Okay, so future state, you're saying the general fund's spoken for. The surplus in the general fund because it's been a minute since I've been here. And years ago, the surplus was $20 million. Now it's $30 million. And frankly, I don't quite understand why we need to continue to raise taxes. And again, if you're not adding operating costs to the fire department, why do you need to collect so much every year? $10 million over 3 years. When's the bargaining contract up? Next year? Okay. So you have no cost certainty through the next, however many years the contract is. You know, the next contract would be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years.
I mean, we have estimates, but to your point, we will not confirm what wages look like until the end of next year.
But to go through that kind of money, you'd have to be giving away like 20% raises a year to spend $3.3 million minimum.
No, I mean, our payroll, numbers right in front of me, but our payroll is running around 8 to 9 million, about 8 million a year, if I remember correctly, 7 to 8 million, somewhere in that range. I know that's a big range. I don't have the numbers. I wasn't prepared for this discussion. I don't have the numbers in front of me. But we also have a building. When did we start building? 20 years ago?
Yes.
Okay, so all of our equipment is coming due. As far as turning over medics. Unfortunately, way before my time. I mean, I was a resident here, but they bought all that new equipment at the same time. So it's all starting to go at the same time. The cost for that equipment has gone up a ton. So when I look at our capital projections, trust me, I don't want to pay more taxes either. But I look at this and I say, well, if something doesn't change, we won't be able to make payroll. Coming up why we sit here and wait on the next treasurer installment. And we also have to just take conservative approaches. Back in COVID times, we didn't get payment until June or July instead of March. So if something happens and we have another delay in 2 or 3 months, that could really impact our fire staffing, which at that point it's either layoffs or refund from general, but much of general is going to be spoken for Bill Kenyon.
And the costs have increased on everything that was,
And Shanahan. I forgot about Shanahan Road.
But in general, the cost of the living
Inflation,
and
economy,
inflation has been
2012.
really bad, and that's increased the expenses. And we did. I mean, Chief originally wanted he was requesting 4 mills originally, so we were able to get it down as low.
I believe 5 years. 4 mills
Yeah.
for 5 years.
Yeah, he was
the original
requesting a lot. So I
consideration.
spent a lot of time, and then Mike came in, and I know, and everyone's taken a look at it, but Mike is a CPA and an attorney also, so I appreciate his. Right after he got appointed, he had some good ideas, but we did talk him down. But Lisa has a spreadsheet that we went over that she could maybe send you that shows, because I was not convinced entirely, but by the end of the 4th year, I mean, we pretty much, with the capital expenditures, we pretty much wouldn't have enough money. Maybe would that help?
In the general fund, you're talking, Lisa, right?
In the fire levy.
Oh.
And we already pay for your utilities and some other fire-related expenses out of our
Yeah, we
general
have
fund.
moved a few things over the last few years into the general fund. Try not to have a significant levy increase.
And we use some of our ARP money for the medic, is that correct?
We've used of our COVID, because we had the first initial money was COVID money, and we used probably 40 or 50% of that money for fire-related expenses. And then ARP, we did use at least 550,000 of it for a new medic that was originally part of the fire budget, and we used our ARP money for that.
And you're a CPA also, is that correct?
What's that?
Are you a CPA also?
No,
Yeah, but you work in the finance.
finance accounting. Yeah,
So you're good.
I'm good around financial statements.
Yeah, forever. Yeah, and he's been in here a few times asking about fire levies in the past.
So the last time the fire levy failed, the operating costs were about $6.5 million. So I understand the inflation till today to being 9, right? But it's still hard for me to believe that we're going to increase operating costs $3.3 million a year. Now, I understand you might say that there's capital wrapped up in there. When do we get our treasury, or when do we get paid from the county? What months? You said March is the other month,
Usually the end of
October?
March, yeah.
Okay, so
And
you
then
only need
end
really
of
3
September.
months of cash.
Sorry?
Not you don't need the whole $6 million. right? If you only, to get you've already received your last deposit for this year,
Right now.
right? So you were at 8 million at the end of September. So maybe you get down to 6 or so by 12/31, and then your next cash infusion is March, right? So you're not going to have operating expenses of $6 million January, February, March.
But like she said, with COVID, when we were getting things late, and I doubt that would happen again. I think that kind of when you can't rely on to get money that you thought you were going to get. Would it help if I know it's?
I think
oh, yeah,
also
go
by
ahead.
looking at the numbers in the spreadsheet, and we would love your feedback on that
Yeah,
spreadsheet
yeah.
because we don't want to ask for more in property taxes than we absolutely have to. But it might have more of a surplus to start, but it's to bridge the gap that we see coming in 3 years, just to get us over towards we can hopefully align this additional levy with our renewal, and then try and stretch out that time period so we're not continually asking for additional property tax, and we try and keep it at a minimum level. But going to some of the other points that were made, that we also were cognizant of asking for what we needed, not trying to do 5 years, not trying to do 4 mills, and we also made sure that it was applicable to this current tax year. So I know a lot of people are aware of their property reappraisal happening. This levy, if it were to pass, will immediately be subject to reduction. So there's not any kind of additional windfall that we're looking for with trying to have put it on this upcoming tax year. So
So
we
it's on
really
our
were trying to
current
do the bare
values.
minimum to bridge what we saw as a gap.
Yeah, and we all worked very hard on that. We didn't just. We all took a very close look at it.
So the next question, the Fire and EMS Services Fund, that balance keeps growing. Can those funds be used to buy medics or any kind of capital equipment?
We are using some of that we are using some
Okay,
of that.
so that can
We
pay for medics.
financed our next fire truck. We've already got that financed, and that first payment comes 5. And those payments, those annual payments will come out of that fund also. So, and that revenue varies. Some months it's 20,000, some months it's an $80,000. We just never know what we're going to be getting.
Right, it's
Yeah.
completely
It
variable. I
varies.
was just
Yep.
wondering if we could spend it
That's kind of how they have it earmarked.
on any fire-related expenditure.
Yeah, it's earmarked for capital purchases, and like I said, it will start. I know that the next medic we need to get will come out of there, as well as our payments that will be due.
So we're financing the new equipment, not paying cash.
We are on the
For
next
this
one,
particular one, we
Okay.
paid cash for the point that we just got. We paid cash.
And we are still getting the rollback of what, like one.
Or for their existing levy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that still qualifies for rollback.
Yeah, so if we done, that's why we did a renewal, not a replacement or a new one, and where we rolled it in together, because we still get 1.2 million from the state every year as part of the rollback. But if we, that it's grandfathered in, so if we replace the whole thing, like next time, we'll always have to probably have 2 separate issues of the, wanted to make sure. Does that
So-
help at all? And maybe she could send.
So if we're financing, then why do we need, again, this $3.3 million a year? Because we're not paying up front. I was assuming we were paying up front.
We did
Cash.
on one of them, yeah. But I mean, there's more capital. I don't have his capital projections in front of me, but there is more capital. There's significant improvements that need to be done at
Station 2
thank
at
you.
Orange and South.
Building, you mean? Building
Yeah.
related?
Yeah.
Structural?
Yeah, I don't know if you toured it at our open house, but there are significant structural things that need to get fixed there.
It was built as a pole barn in the 80s. Never a place. It was never built initially as a place where people would be living 24/7, which is the case.
Maybe we could send those projections.
Yeah, that or else if you want to schedule time to meet, I'm happy to sit down and go through numbers with you.
Maybe can you send the projections that the latest one that showed the 5-year projections?
That's spreadsheet. It was really helpful.
Yeah, it was super helpful. Yeah, we spent a lot of time.
So within this 3-year levy request, there are no plans for a third fire station, right?
No.
Okay, this is just maintaining original equipment. Well, maybe not original, but outdated
Yeah, and our
equipment
new
that we're
fire-
financing. We're not
No,
paying cash for.
turnout gear like that has to be replaced. I think it's every 5 years actually now.
Not 10, no.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, we used COVID money to buy a lot like We bought a ton of turnout gear when COVID
Yeah. And
back in 21.
have you met our new fire chief? Is pretty fiscal conservative, I think, compared to the old one. And we have a competent fiscal officer now who has talked circles around many people. So
Yes, you'd like to set up a meeting.
Exceedingly competent.
exceedingly.
With
I mean,
Lisa's
Well-
chief, I'm sure they'd be
on it,
willing to.
But also maybe in the meantime, send them that spreadsheet. So
I would just
Does that
say
help at all?
if there really isn't a need for the 3.3 million in any year, to not collect it. Because again, I know you guys have give me your take on this. I still don't see the justification for $10 million increase over 3 years, especially when you're financing equipment, probably over 7 years or 10 years, or even 15.
I wholeheartedly agree. We should only be collecting
So,
what we
yes,
need
I-
in order to make
yeah.
our.
Take a look at that and let us know what you think.
Okay, but
All right. Yeah. Thanks
That's
for
all. I
coming
won't take
in.
any more of your
And,
time.
Bob, I have your contact information, so I'll pass it along to the board.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other public comment? Right, we've got a presentation from Ohio State Representative Brian Lorenz. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for having me. It's nice to be in an afternoon meeting, not a night meeting, but that's okay. So just wanted to stop by and say hello. I am not your rep right now, but the 60th district in the next general election a year from now will be has been mapped in to include Orange Township. And so it's gone out and come back and gone out. And fortunately or unfortunately, you'll have your third representative in a 6-year period. But, you know, I know many of you have been involved over here in Orange, as well as Powell and other areas around here. So hopefully I'll be able to continue with that and look forward to serving you. Right now, you're served by Representative Lear, who's an outstanding representative, and of course, Senator Brenner. And so, what I like to say is the three of us really make a great team. We collaborate quite a bit on a lot of the local issues that we're facing here in our community. As you may know, I was appointed to fulfill the term from our good friend, late Chris Jordan, back in May. And you know, Chris was a friend of many of ours, and it's sad to see him go, but I'm excited to be down in the State House after 13 years on Powell City Council and mayor and whatnot, and trying to help out our community here. There's really about 3 things I was just going to touch on, and then I'll answer any questions that you have. Once we got through the budget season, I think that was a really great budget. It really helped to improve the vitality of our school districts here, at least the ones that, you know, I currently represent, Olentangy, Buckeye Valley, and Delaware. But, you know, as you guys know, and we just heard from the last gentleman, there's continues to be a need for enhancements and you know, the way that we fulfill our services to our community. But one of the bigger things that you may be aware of, I'm sure you are, is that we're working with ODOT on another study of the US 23 corridor. Interesting fact, there are 34 traffic signals from the county line with Franklin County all the way up to 521 there, or 529, sorry, on at the Marion County line. And so ODOT has pledged to participate in a study to mitigate access points or try and alleviate traffic as we move commerce through our county. And, you know, 23 is sort of the lifeblood between Orange and Liberty and Delaware. So there'll be some public forums. I'm not sure when they'll be happening, but I would encourage anybody to participate in those. Also, as a planner, you know, it's of particular interest to me to see what types of things we might be able to accomplish with limited space without trying to take any road right away or without trying to take any, you know, preserve our farmlands that we have as well further up north. So there are some ideas that range from access roads to almost, I don't want to call them jug handles, but in New Jersey and Michigan, you have a lot of those left turn signalized things. So those are anything's on the table. So just reach out to your constituents and let them know that those meetings are going to be they'll be available online or in person, and they should be transpiring over through the fall and winter. Again, property taxes, right? Really big topic here. I was encouraged to be able to help co-sponsor House Bill 187. And what House Bill 187 does is it limits the appraisal period from 1 year to 3 years. And as you guys know, everyone received a new assessment on their property. Under the Ohio tax code, the tax commissioner has the ability to establish a value on homes over a 1 year period instead of the normal 3. And counties go in through a cycle of that together. And so it just so happens that Delaware County was on the list for this time with Butler County, I think Mahoning County, about 6 or 7 counties. That rotates through, I believe, every 6 years. And so what our bill did, it's a temporary stopgap. But what it has done is it's taken that 1 year assessment and told the tax commissioner, we're not going to do that anymore. You're going to treat all counties fairly. You're going to go over and do it over the 3 year period. What does that mean? It's got to be passed by the Senate. I think that they are looking at that to vote it out hopefully November 15th. And then our county auditor will have to go back through and reappraise everything on a 3 year measure. The other thing I think it's important that it does is it puts the burden of proof as it relates to valuation onto the Ohio tax commissioner instead of our local person. And so the tax commissioner will then really have to go out and do their due diligence to recognize that, our county is very fluent. We have a higher, median home value versus someone else's, and compare how we look at our taxes. So the other important thing is it doesn't affect the 20 mil floor for the schools. So, that was important. As I mentioned earlier, we really set the schools up in this budget. And, that's sort of the argument that you'll hear is we're taking away from the schools. And in fact, we didn't do that. So hopefully that will help provide some relief. My office gets calls. I probably get 10 calls a day from senior citizens telling me that their valuation and their property tax bill has gone up $1,000. And that may not seem a lot to us that are working, but when you're on a fixed income, that could be really detrimental. And one of the important things for me is that, I recognize this is a community where we have individuals that want to age in place. And we need to be able to proactively be doing things where we can provide, relief and incentives to try and help those folks stay here. And we have a lot of single families as well that want to be here and want to be close to their kids. So hopefully this will help give some relief and kickstart our economy a little bit more here as well. And then the last thing I would mention will be the capital budget requests will be coming up, and I believe the due date on things for those are, I want to say December 10th or December 18th. The capital budget is separate from the operating budget, where a certain amount of monies have been put in for civic related projects, so parks, museums, trails, things like that help benefit communities. And I am sure that our offices will be flooded with requests, but I like to be transparent and let you know that there was a big conversation on that yesterday, and that process is beginning. So even though your request would go through Representative Lear, but if you have any questions, in the intermediary, just let me know, since we'll be switching over eventually. So I appreciate you guys letting me come in, and happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for coming. I know you've been out and about in our township recently. We saw you at the Founders Fest. We saw you at Evans Farms on Sunday at their Fall Fest as well. So we appreciate you making the rounds and meeting and greeting your new constituents to be in a year or so. Trustee Ringel and myself and Mr. Bowers and Mr. Duffy and I were all at they had a DC 23 or Route 23 Connect open house cite the thing yesterday for
Yep.
government agencies. I actually spoke with Jeff Gordon today about the school district getting involved. So hopefully they'll be able to attend one of the public ones. That was one of my announcements. The public meetings are Wednesday, November 8th from 12 to 2 or 5 to 7 at the Delaware County Fairgrounds. And then Tuesday, November 14th, also from 12 to 2 and 5 to 7 at the Nationwide Hotel and Conference
That's
Center. That's right here in the township.
There will also be some webinars,
Correct.
live stream webinars
Yes.
as well after that.
But the guys and I probably spent almost 2 hours there yesterday, and just in Orange Township, that is a lot of options. There are a lot of signals. It's just a lot to process, and so we would highly encourage people in the community to put their feedback in. So we appreciate the plug for that
You
as
got it.
well. I was just at the key communicators meeting with the school district earlier today around lunchtime, and they were speaking about House Bill 187. So I appreciate the additional information on that. They're trying to roll back their bond millage
Right.
on that, and depending on whether 187 goes through or not, what means whether they'll roll back one or if it goes like a half a mil. So that 20 mil floor, I know that doesn't affect here in Olentangy because we are above the 20 mil
Right.
floor. Our taxes are increasing less
Correct.
than, say, Buckeye Valley, Big Walnut, and Delaware, right? Those are the ones that are at the 20
I believe
mil.
so. Yeah.
Right. So with 187, would that impact us at all as far as, we're still above, you referenced the 20 mil floor,
Yeah.
which I just
No,
finally
it won't
understood
affect
today. Okay, so still we are at a lower tax increase
Correct.
because
Yes.
of the higher taxes. Okay. Those are my questions.
Great. Great.
I'm really glad to see that we're looking at alternate options for Route 23.
Yeah.
I wasn't in favor of any of those very extreme measures that we
Right.
were considering where they were going to make alternate roads and cut through farmland. I think we're so established, and I think it would be very difficult to do that. So hopefully this will be less intrusive and also less expensive.
Absolutely. Less expensive, less intrusive. And, honestly, Trustee Knapp, it's really about the only thing that can be done. A project with a new corridor being developed would take 25 years to build at a cost that, I can't speculate on, and would be met with so much disdain. Because-
Clearly.
yeah. So let's see what we can do with what we have
And hopefully it
speed
will
it
look
up.
nice, whatever
But
it is.
there's 4 different options for each section,
Mhm.
and even at each intersection you could pick. They're kind of
Yep.
asking. So it will drastically, as Robin emailed us today, drastically change what we're used to, depending on what they pick at which intersection and all that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
but ultimately for the good of traffic and safety and travel north and south throughout the community, just make sure that we can still go east and west and get from our homes to the stores that we need to go to and our kids' schools and all that kind of stuff.
Hopefully it
It's a
won't be-
lot of factors.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be too ugly, hopefully.
Yep.
Right, because
Right.
I know the jug handles have been in Jersey and driven those. They're very effective, but
Yeah.
sometimes not very attractive. Some of the, I haven't looked at the options yet.
Yeah. Well, and safety is so paramount in this particular corridor as well, more than just, in my opinion, I think safety is the most important thing that we need to do. But obviously, the faster we can move commerce, the cheaper that we have goods and services. So, that's a key component. So, but yeah, safety's number one for sure. With all the busing that we have here and with half the Olentangy kids living in Powell and whatnot, crossing over, it's a big concern. And
But-
some of those, some of those intersections, they really have
23 in Powell Road is very
23 in
dangerous.
Powell Road. I was thinking of Hyatt's, even though, it's been redone. That was one that was, so.
Well, I asked ODOT to line up the lanes at 23 and Powell Road don't line up if you're going straight. I don't know if you've
Right.
seen that. And I asked them to fix that when they were restriping everything. And they said they would, but they still don't. So if you're not familiar with that or you're a young
No,
driver,
It's tricky.
Sure.
you're going straight. And I live right near there and I hear signs
Yeah, you do.
all the time. So maybe that intersection fixed.
There was lots of options for
Yeah.
all the intersections.
It was on there.
Spend some time.
That's one of the key ones. Yeah.
And I just want to thank you, echo the comments that have already been said, and then also ask, I know that you're not our representative yet, but when you become a representative, what's the easiest way for residents of Orange Township to get a hold of you?
Oh, yeah. I will, always call my office, but if anybody wants my phone number, I give it out to anybody. I don't really care. I like to be transparent and accessible, and so I always say, you know, you may not agree with policy all the time. I'll give you an answer. It may not be the answer that you want, but I'm not afraid to talk to somebody. So if you encounter someone that has a question, you know how to get a hold of me. So you're welcome to pass that along, and same with any of you. So, you know, if you can't reach me directly, call my office. I have a really sharp aide, and he'll get me in touch with you. And you know what else I like to do? I call them office hours. I've done some at Liberty Township. I did some at Radnor. I try and do something open house, you know, not for me to come in and speak or anything, but just me to be there for you. So we're trying some new things to get out there. We also have a Facebook page, do a quarterly newsletter, you know, so we really pride ourselves on outreach and being accessible. So you'll see me at an event, a football game or something like that.
When you get to the point where you are a representative and if you do office hours in Orange, let us know.
I will.
Help publicize.
I'd love to. It's always cozy in here. It's my favorite.
It's our favorite township too.
The library is really nice too. Love
Thank
it.
you so much
Lots
for
of
allowing me a
things.
few minutes.
Thank
I
you so
appreciate
much.
it.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Appreciate your time. Okay. We have any agenda changes?
Yes, I have a couple. Under zoning report, we will remove the zone co amendment. And just that actually, we learned that action needs to be taken by the zoning commission.
Oh, okay.
And then we will also be removing the liquor license under fiscal officer report. Planning on tabling that, or it'll be on the next agenda.
Okay. And then are we adding?
And then we're adding a new business item, and that'll be the Evans Farm HOA agreement regarding the maintenance of their Market Street sidewalks.
Did we have any questions about the previous meeting minutes or the that announcement?
I don't have any.
Okay. I make a motion to approve resolution 23-275, approving the electronic record of the proceedings from the regular trustee meeting on October 18th, 2023. And resolution 23-276, approving purchase orders, then and now purchase orders, and blanket purchase orders as listed.
Second?
Mr. Ringel,
Yes.
Ms. Knapp,
Yes.
Mrs. Faust.
Yes. Mr. Duffy, our zoning development and zoning report.
Good afternoon, trustees. We'll go through the zoning and hearings and meetings report. We do have Board of Zoning Appeals meeting scheduled for Thursday, November 16th at 6 o'clock here in this room. There are 4 cases on that agenda. The first case is with the school district seeking an area variance from our zoning resolution to allow for fewer parking spaces than is required for their academy building on Graphics Way.
Are they asking for less parking spaces?
Correct. So they're expanding their building. Their reasoning for having less parking spaces than is required by code is that the students are not there full time, as they are bussed in from other schools. So they typically are not driving to that school.
And some are driving.
Some are, but the majority are not. So. There is also a variance and conditional use application for CME Credit Union, several wall signs that are requiring variances, and then a monument sign that is also requiring a variance, as well as a conditional use to establish that monument sign. There is also a variance and conditional use for a proposed McDonald's sign just south of there on Artesian Run. Seeking area variances to allow for a monument sign along US 23, as well as one variance to allow for a building without a pitched roof. The other application is for a proposed Chick-fil-A at 55 Meadow Park Avenue. They are requesting one setback variance. Their proposed canopy, would encroach on a side yard setback, as well as several signs that will require variances as well.
And that's in front of the Staples building, is that correct?
Correct.
In front of Chick-fil-A.
Are the village employees?
They are hoping
trying
to. That is all for the Board of Zoning Appeals. We do have one rezoning application which has been recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission that we do have a resolution for you today to set that heat.
Okay, quick question about the sign, conditional uses, Crimson Cup and McDonald's. I just finished reading, Robin knows this, the new zoning code, draft zoning code. Does what they're proposing match, fall under our new code? Just wondering.
I would say generally yes, but I would have to look at each one under that through that lens.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so we need to set a date for the rezoning hearing
Correct.
for Orange Cove. Okay. I think we were thinking the 15th, which is our next meeting, that Wednesday.
Like 5.
You want to do 5 or 5:30? We've had a lot of community participation at the zoning commission level, so I want to make sure that the community if they would like to. I want to make it prohibitive if work or whatever. So would 5:30 work with?
We also putting budget discussions.
Yes, we are.
That
How is
meeting.
that
So
budget?
will is 5:30 going to be a sufficient
Should
amount
we
of
make
time
it
for us to
No, you'll be
have
fine.
discussions?
No, we'll have everything to you guys in advance so you can see the new items and
So
you know,
we won't have to have too much budget discussion here.
hopefully
Okay.
we package it nicely for you guys.
I think 2.5 hours for that meeting is doable.
It won't go over that.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
It just has to start happening.
Yeah, and it yes.
If we have general meeting stuff, I would rather pause the general meeting because people finish the general meeting whenever the zoning.
Yeah, I
stuff is
mean,
done.
we
If
can
you guys are
always
okay with
push
that.
if there was an executive session that came up unexpectedly. That
Yeah.
impact.
Okay. The 15th at 5:30.
It's fine.
And does the community, Robin, get notice?
Yes.
Okay.
This will go out probably 4 hours.
So it's postcards or something. Okay, I had to know. I had a resident ask.
Yeah, we notify the residents for the zoning commission hearing and the trustee hearing.
Thanks.
They can feed you.
It's any property within 200 feet of the subject property.
And if there have been people that have attended the meeting and you collected their email addresses, do we email like kind of the attendee list?
Not typically.
So it's within 200, just like DZ.
Correct.
And do we put the sign back up?
We will put the sign back up, yes.
It used to be just videos, right?
It's just so ORC. I don't know if that was
Yeah, or
if that
says
changed.
videos.
Correct.
In favor of the 200.
Yeah, excuse me. ORC says contiguous properties, our standard has always been within 200 feet.
Yeah, I like that. That's good.
The more notice we can
Yeah,
give
the
the
more
community,
notice,
the
the
better. Practice. Okay, anything else? Zoning? I make a motion to approve resolution 23-277, scheduled hearing date for ZON 23-03, Orange Cove SFPRD on Wednesday, November 15th at 5:30 p.m.
Ms. Knapp,
Yes?
Mr. Ringgold,
Yes.
Mrs. Fowles.
Yes.
Oh, and then did we do announcement?
Oh, we kind of brushed through that. I'm sorry. Did you have any?
Yeah, did you have something to show?
I have election days next week.
Oh, yeah. Vote.
Have we, I just wanted to mention that I went on a field trip with Silas to review the township roads yesterday and got a lot of good information.
Okay.
It's really useful, the conditions and the criteria and how we have really no money at all to spend, which I knew, but the Bale Canyon project is a lot of money. So we talked about maybe at some point, if this situation becomes dire, having to put a slightly increase our levy at some point, like just half a mil, right?
Mhm.
So it's
606.
It barely. It doesn't cover our current costs of maintenance. We've been exceeding that, unfortunately, with grant opportunities as well. But it's
Yeah.
good that you went out there to learn.
Yeah,
about
well, all the roads
details.
that are getting really, they're kind of all aging at once, which I knew was going to happen when the zoning was happening. It was informative, so thanks, Silas.
You're welcome.
Always good for us to be able to get out in the community, learn more things, whether it's zoning or roads or whatever.
I guess since we're on announcements track, a few of us went to the Evans Farm Fall Fest on Sunday. Weather was not great, but we had a fairly decent attendance, so happy that we were able to get out there with our fire department.
Fun touch a truck for the kiddos.
Yeah, our
enjoy that
light fight starts now, right? You can submit for it.
You can sign up to
Or sign
be a
up?
part of the light fight, yeah, starting
Okay.
now. So this was the same as what we did last year. So if you decorate your house for the holidays and you want to be included in like a township kind of friendly competition for bragging rights, basically, we put so you have until December 6th to sign up for that. And then we put together a map that then is pushed out via our networks and stuff that people go and order, and then you can vote for whatever houses you like the most. Also, we have it's a ways away, but our holiday event is Sunday, December 3rd. It'll be at 4:30 at North Orange Park. Same as we've done the last couple of years. Santa Claus, the train, the free hot chocolate. Sunday, the first Sunday in December at 4:30. Another fun event that we get to do. Operations. Mr. Bowers?
Thank you. All right. First thing for operations today is the hopefully adopting the digital speed limit sign policy that was tabled from the last meeting and carried over. The requested changes were made within that policy to reflect the wishes of the board. So that is ready to go, pending your blessing. Next up, we have a REA for the Delaware County Engineers for the Rail Timber Trail Project. That is something we're hoping to tackle next year, and just continuing a healthy relationship with the engineer's office. They offered to engineer that for us over the wintertime and have it ready to go. We will be chasing some alternate funding for that so that our parks levy is not impacted by the construction of that. The third thing is a temporary hourly wage increase for our Assistant Public Works Manager, Dave Gilson, to help bridge the gap of Alex's absence, his continued absence, I guess. Dave, I've had some conversations with Dave, and he's eager to learn more about the process. We think Dave will be able to help pick up some of the workload that exists with Alex being out for another period of time. And then the agenda change that Ms. Bonnie mentioned earlier is an agreement for authorizing Michelle to execute regarding the maintenance of Market Street sidewalks. This is due to a change in planned material construction. They wanted to alter away from their concrete sidewalks and utilize brick sidewalks, which we have no objection to. But they are agreeing to pick up the maintenance of those going forward, so it's not an additional maintenance responsibility of the township.
They want bricks instead of sidewalks.
Correct.
Bricks are cheaper to install.
I think they're on an aesthetics kick right now.
Aesthetics.
They've requested the same in some other areas as well, so they've had some couple of material changes they want to do, and which we're generally in support of, as long as they don't create more maintenance
So they'll
work for
take
us.
care of maintenance and
Correct.
re-leveling and
Yep.
weeds and all that kind of stuff.
Correct.
Any damage?
And there are public sidewalks as well, so that's hence the reason for the agreement.
That resolution's at the end of the at the end of the template.
Yeah.
Just
Where are the sidewalks located?
Market Street. So that's kind of in the heart of all their commercial district.
Oh, okay.
And it's currently sidewalks there now, or these are new?
They're new. This is part of the new construction.
So we're doing an agreement for that?
For
Correct.
them to maintain.
For them to alter their building from concrete to, or alter the building structure of the sidewalk from concrete to brick, and for them to assume the maintenance responsibility of the bricks.
Okay. So does that meet the zoning requirement?
Yeah, we don't regulate material. I don't think we regulate material type for sidewalks. So.
Well, if it said it in the zoning, I didn't know if it mentioned, it just said sidewalks, or,
Yeah, it just
didn't
said,
say
I mean, there's a
concrete or-
certain width that
and aren't they always responsible for maintaining them?
they're in the right of way.
Oh, they're.
I mean, if they're in the public right of way, we would.
This is a little different since it's Evans Farm in a commercial area. A little different than typical residential sidewalk structures. Typically, I think what you're referring to is residential sidewalks being within the right of way and being a responsibility of the property owner. That's accurate. In the commercial area, the commercial area of Evans Farm, this is a little bit of a different setup, a little bit unique to the township. Is the only area where this really applies.
So commercial, so the residential right of way, if you have a sidewalk issue, you have to repair it yourself,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And so how is this different again?
This is the commercial area. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah,
This is
but-
like in the shopping part.
Correct. And we don't have any
Okay.
brick sidewalks in residential areas as well. So this is, again, as Trustee Faust said, this is a different commercial type of area. And they want to steer away from the concrete structure. So if they want to put brick in, again, we generally don't have any reason to decline that, but we also don't want to pick up a maintenance responsibility that could potentially increase maintenance stuff for us to take on and they agreed to take it on, and there has been no other questions with it so far.
It is in the right of way. It is in our.
It is in the right of way.
So are you saying that commercial developments, typically, we would maintain sidewalks within the right of way?
I'm not saying that at all. What I said is this Evans Farm commercial district is very unique to the township in the sense that we don't have any other areas like this. So since they want to divert away from the concrete sidewalks and do something different,
Yeah, I'm not.
we're just letting, my recommendation would be to let them do that,
I'm just failing to
and then to
understand.
pick up
No,
the
I'm
I'm
responsibility.
failing to understand what the difference is between a standard residential and this, what is our
Well, I don't
policy?
think this is in the commercial parts. This isn't like amongst the houses, right? This is
Correct.
in
No, right, yes, I understand that, 100%. My point is, what is the difference? What is compelling, what compels in our township, what forces residents to repair their own sidewalks? Versus he's saying that typically we already require commercial developments within the sidewalk within the right of way to not repair theirs.
Yours.
This is due to the fact that they're installing brick. I mean, if they were not installing brick, we would be maintaining them.
Yeah, I don't know if we would have an agreement of this type. I don't know the history of the Evans Farm setup, and I don't know if Robin
Is
or
this
Michelle
because
might.
of a zoning issue? Because I'm just, there's
I think
a
it's the brick.
No, this was just their original design. They're diverting from the original design. And
But
so
if
there's
they're, even if they weren't diverting from the original design, then there's a disconnect here. If they're,
Yeah.
so if they put in regular sidewalks, we would be maintaining the sidewalks?
I don't know the answer to that. I wasn't around at the beginning of the genesis of the Evans Farm project. So since it is a little unique compared to the rest of the township, I don't know the specific
How is
answer
it
to it.
unique?
Because we don't have another kind of commercial downtown type of area as Evans Farm is. The area around Market Street is kind of one of its kind within the township.
But are there sidewalks in commercial areas in other places that we do or do not maintain? I feel like there's a policy or law or something here that could supersede this.
Well, I don't know. We did have Chris Betts was the one who put together this agreement for us, so I think legally we are safe as far as the maintenance
For the
agreement goes.
agreement, but is he aware of?
But I think you're speaking generally on when
Yeah.
it comes to sidewalks in commercial districts, who's responsible to maintain them. Is that your
Yeah,
question?
right.
Okay.
If they're within the right of way, which
Yeah.
this is, yeah. Because why do I need to repair my own sidewalk in front of me? What's the difference? In general. I mean, you'd think either everyone is required to do their own maintenance, which almost makes it a moot point to even
Yeah, I
pass
think.
this.
Yeah, I don't. For yours, it's your neighborhood. That's different because there's now HOA. So I'm not
There's no
sure how
HOA.
that would.
We don't have an HOA.
Yeah. So I'm
No,
not,
in my development, your sidewalk gets busted.
yeah. So it's
why,
usually.
that's within the right of way. So there's some rule. If you call the township and tell Silas that your sidewalk has been damaged, he will tell you you have to repair it yourself. Under what authority is that? Like, I'm just going back to the genesis. Is this even necessary to do this if they're already responsible to? I mean, if it's true that by law or by rule or something that they're already required to repair their own sidewalk, we would just simply be reminding them of that fact and making sure they knew about it. We wouldn't be having a whole new.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. I mean, I would have. I would have
You know what I
hoped legal would have said that if that was
But
the case.
did he provide justification to how we're able to do this? I mean, is this urgent that we could able to get the answers, or are they in a hurry?
They're in a hurry. Now, I will add to this conversation as well that not all of Market Street is a public street as well. There is some private sections of that as well. So this might be,
Is that why?
that might have something to do with it. That parts of it are private.
But even then, if it was private, then they would still be responsible for maintaining it.
Yeah, this is more to clarify that we are okay with them putting brick in because we don't have that anywhere else that I'm aware of either. And it might be more susceptible to maintenance. So it is really just clarifying that the material change is sufficient, whether it be public or private street, and that they can proceed with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can move forward with this agreement, knowing because of the material, the maintenance, we have legal approval. But as far as answering your question in general,
Yeah.
how we generally handle it, I can get.
Yeah, can you get more information? So are we actually approving the brick with this or just the
Yes.
maintenance?
Well, both.
It's the alteration of their construction and the future maintenance of
But if
that.
it's an alteration from the approved zoning, wouldn't that be?
It's not a zoning standard.
So,
Yeah, and I misspoke
The
using the word
material,
zoning. I'm sorry.
so do we require somewhere in some township law that they all need to be concrete?
No, we don't.
These, I just, Am I making any sense here, or
You are,
did you
but
shed any light
I-
on, what's your opinion? Because
I
since you're an
don't-
attorney, I appreciate it.
Well, give the classic attorney caveat, and I am not providing legal advice.
Yes, I know, I do have a good analytical mind with this kind of thing.
But to your concern, I don't know that even if there is a distinction, that it particularly matters with approving this this MOU. Because if they're already responsible for the maintenance and they might have the ability to already put in brick, then this is just really reaffirming in the legal sense that they have those rights and that reiterating that the township will
So it
not be
can't
paying
hurt.
for them. So it can't hurt. But I do think it would be helpful to figure out why that distinction might be necessary in case we have the consideration come up in the future again.
Yeah, because I'd like to know what, and plus if we're, yeah, okay, so can you find out the legal authority for all that? Because
Yes.
we might find out there's something we didn't know about.
Absolutely.
I can look into that.
I had one question about, sorry.
You're good.
The speeding, flashing lights policy. I don't need it. I just wanted
That's
to
the
ask
next one.
that, confirm that we're going to reach back out to the HOAs that have reached out to the township about an interest in these signs to let them know that once we have the policy passed, that it's in place and that they can move forward with getting any beacons in place that they don't already have in place.
Yes, sir.
And I appreciate you working with me and making sure in layman's terms it was.
Absolutely. Happy to help. Glad we're near the end of it too, and we can maybe, like Trustee Ringel said, able to respond to some of the HOAs that have reached out.
Yep, and
And Michelle, can you make sure that, we're sure it's not in the zoning about the sidewalks, that they need to be concrete, right? It's not in the zoning?
I've never seen
I have never seen a
There's
zoning
none, right?
requirement
It just
for
says
concrete sidewalks.
sidewalks usually, right?
Yeah,
And it doesn't
sometimes
give-
I mean,
yeah.
sometimes it's mentioned that sidewalks need to be a minimum of 4 feet, 6 feet, and then
right.
yeah, it's the width of
Yeah.
anything.
I
I've
think
never
I've
seen anything on
maybe a
materials.
few times somewhere, someone say it's gonna be, when they're specifying the construction standard, they'll say it'll be, 8 feet minimum concrete or
Yeah, we do
asphalt
specify the
occasionally.
materials currently for driveways. We do that. We do. That is something that we're looking at changing because there are a lot of paver driveways.
Yeah, they're actually full variety. Some are concrete, some
But yeah, that's the only time I've seen us, as far as like a surface go, regulate the material.
Yeah, sometimes it's included in the zoning, but Robin, would you just double check, or are you already sure?
We can look at the Evans Farm
Would you just
District.
check it again? You're probably
Yeah,
pretty
I can look.
sure. Do a keyword search.
And then the REA for Orange Wick. So it says that to. What are they asking for the road? Glanced at
The
it.
REA.
Like a commercial
Yeah.
development. They're afraid there's gonna be stuff.
Okay, that's that one. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you. And then as far as
No,
That's for our engineer. That's actually our request for,
Oh.
Yeah, this
for
is-
the trail
for
engineer.
trail.
Yeah, so
on,
they're-
on the residential street. That's what I right.
on Rail Timber Way, so the connection between the new Orange Summit community, that's what it's called, Orange
Yes.
Summit.
Correct. And Orange Wick Drive.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a trail part that we would like to, that's one of our trail projects we're projecting for next year to connect that.
Okay.
Into the Grover development.
So real timber, not
So yeah, the REA is requesting the county engineer to engineer that trail project for
between.
us.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, between Orange Wick and
Between
Old
Orange
Timber
Wick,
Crescent. Yes, I gotcha. Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you.
Mhm.
And then I'm excited about the opportunity for Dave Gilson to be able to step up temporarily while Alex is continuing to serve our country. To step into that assistant project manager. I'm not sure there's an official title.
That'd be helpful.
Yeah, that'll be very helpful. So we're excited for that. So thank you, Dave. If you're listening. Be willing to do that. Okay. Anything else operations wise?
Nope, not without it, unless there's any questions.
Good.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm just waiting.
Sorry. All right, I make a motion to approve resolution 23-278, adoption of a digital speed limit policy.
Second?
Mr. Ringel,
Yes?
Ms. Knapp,
Yes.
Mrs. Faust.
Yes. Make a motion to approve resolution 23 hold on, I lost it.
Page 11.
Thank you. 279, authorizing Township Administrator execution of a request for engineering assistance with the Delaware County Engineers Office regarding rail timber way between Orangewood Drive and Olentangy Crossing East.
Which number is that one?
279.
Okay, so the other one was, the 278 was adoption of a digital
Yes.
sign policy, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Second?
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes. I make a motion to approve resolution 23-280, a resolution temporarily increasing Public Works Assistant Manager Dave Gilson's hourly rate of pay.
Second?
Mr. Ringel?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes. Do we do the,
We can do it at the end.
Okay.
I'm just trying not
so we
to
don't mess up the numbers yet?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, we didn't have anything for fire. That's the reason Chief isn't with us today. And fiscal, Mrs. Kraft.
Sure. A couple things. Actually, just really, well, one, we are tabling the liquor license that was originally going to be on for today. So pending just a little bit more information on that. But I did get to attend a conference last week hosted by the Treasurer of State. Every year I have to have at least 6 hours of CPIM training, which enables me to help to manage our investments. So this actually got all 6 of my hours at once. But it was a great training. It was attended by cities, munis, townships, counties, all kinds of folks. But there was a lot of discussion on economic tools available to varying levels of government and how to account for some of that. So that was helpful, especially as we have our first JED coming in, as well as our first TIF. So that provided some good information. There was also a piece, something that we learned, and Michelle is now chasing down, about an extension to extend TIFs by up to 30 years as a non-school TIF. It has to be done by the end of this year, though. So Michelle is
Or certain times.
certain TIFs. Yes, did I not say certain TIFs? Yes.
Well, yeah. I'm just trying to learn
well, for some TIFs, yes, to be extended 30 years as a non-school TIF. So Michelle is working with legal to see if that's something that we need to look at for any of the TIFs, to work with the county for any of the TIFs that they have here. So Julie is chasing that. Our legal is chasing that one down. Auditor of State Faber spoke about kind of what keeps him up at night, and he said cybercrime is the biggest the biggest issue his office is seeing right now. He stated that it was employee redirects that were the big problem, which is when somebody sends an email to payroll saying, "Hey, my bank account information changed. Change it to this." Payroll changes it, and then it goes to somebody it shouldn't go to. But now they're seeing that with vendor redirects. They've had one for about $1 million out of Hilliard, where Hilliard paid a concrete company based on who said, "Okay, here's my new bank account information," and it was not a concrete company. So they're seeing a lot with vendor redirects. So they did put out some guidelines, the Auditor of State. So we're going to be meeting internally here in the next couple weeks to document our process for changing vendor and or employee information to make sure we're in compliance with its AOS guidelines. So
Did they put new guidelines out?
they put guidelines out earlier this year. Yep. So he spoke about those,
I
and if we don't put them in place, then basically that's a findings for the So, and then last but not least, Delaware County Treasurer Ranke and Liberty Fiscal Officer Carr were on a panel that were discussing leveraging your local county treasurer's office for capital loans versus going to the bank. So, I want to share that they were there also. So, that's kind of the highlights, but I'm going to chase down some of the things that I learned, especially with some of the accounting stuff. That's one of the reasons we set up all these separate funds for tips and things like that. We had to. So that was good learning for me. So that's all I've got. So like I said, we're tabling the liquor license. That's it.
Okay, any fiscal questions? All right, Ms. Bonnie, our administration report.
Yes, thank you. I have, I guess two things. I want to thank Andrew Koenig for helping moderate or handle the visual and audio equipment for us during our trustee meetings. This is extremely helpful for me.
Good.
So
I don't know how you did it all before. looking back.
I don't know.
Good
I don't
job.
know.
Thanks for stepping up, Andrew.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
And then the only thing on the agenda is we have this exciting opportunity to partner with Delaware Area Career Center as we're calling it a paid apprentice. This is an opportunity to work with their photography
Digital
division?
marketing,
Or digital
media,
marketing.
things like
Okay.
that, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I know Erica and Val have been more involved with this, so if you have any questions, I'm sure they can help. But overall, we're looking to have this paid apprentice help us with really a marketing campaign for the township. We've seen other communities nearby do their state of the township in a visual way, kind of bragging about the parks that we have and our services that we offer, and advocating for our events, or anything we can really do to show off all the great things that we do here. So we originally looked at hiring a photography company to do this, and the cost versus something like this, and not only the cost is a lot less in this direction, but also a great way to get involved more with the Career Center. So, but I just think Val helped us put this program together, and I know Erica was involved too. And Sydney, yes, thank you.
Started the process. Thank you, Val, for all your help. And Mike, I'm sure you had a hand in it.
Thanks to all.
It's a team effort.
Team effort.
Team Orange, yes. Okay, any questions on that? Okay. I make a motion to approve Resolution 22-281, approve position description for the employment of part-time paid apprentice and post-job announcement.
Second.
Mr. Ringgold?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes. Okay, we're going to do the Evans Farm.
Yes.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 23-282, authorizing the Township Administrator execution of the agreement between the Board of Trustees, Warrenshire Township, and Evans Farms Homeowners Association regarding installation, procurement, and maintenance of Market Street sidewalks.
Second.
Mr. Ringgold?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp? Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
And that is all I have for the agenda.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 23-283, meeting adjourned.
Mr. Ringgold?
Yes.